Hi, this is another in my 2017 St. Patrick's Day cards. This card features some fairies and dandelions, which are popped up on some fun foam to give it a little 3D look to the card. This card used very few supplies. It went together really quickly, and you can recreate this card without too much trouble or effort. The inside has a little bit of sentiment stamped and a few of the dandelion I don't know what they call it, the little flyaways on the inside. Okay, let me tell you the materials that this card used. The first thing I need is a card base cut 8.5 by 5.5, and a black mat, which I've cut 4 inches by 5.25. And I need 2 white panels cut 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and some fun foam. You need at least 4.25 by 2 3/4. I have 2 pieces here, but put together this is enough. And that is adhesive on one side. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black, Sweet Plum, Lulu Lavender, and Bamboo Leaves. I'm also going to use Distress Ink Frayed Burlap. I have a die set, which I got, it's no name, and I'm using the largest of the stitch rectangles. I believe this was 5.5 by 3.5. I'm also using Wink of Stella markers. I'm using the yellow, the green, and the blue. I have this stamp set that I got. It doesn't have a name to it. It features dandelions and fairies and fairy grass. I've used it a lot lately, but it's really nice. I've already put the stamps on the block, so I have them ready to go. For this step, I'm bringing in my Misty tool, and I'm going to stamp the grass. This stamp is wider than the paper, so I need to move the paper up, whereas usually I would put it in the corner. And I'm stamping this with the bamboo leaves. And now I've brought in my stamp mat, and I'm going to stamp the rest of the images for the front. I have grabbed my frayed burlap and I'm stamping the dandelions, and I'm being careful that I want to have the stamping to be overlapping the raised part so that some will be on the flat part, some will be on the raised part. And I'm stamping the fairy in the plum, and then I realized that I should probably stamp the sentiment so I know where to put the other fairy. So I swapped out the stamp and got the sentiment. And I stamped that in the Memento black, and the other fairy is stamped in the lightest pink. And now I moved on to stamping the inside panel. First I did the flying thing for the dandelion and the sentiment, and I made a mistake, so I flipped the paper over and did it again. I wasn't happy with the placement. And as I said, paper has 2 sides. No problem. And that's the stamping. Now I'm taking my card base and using my bone folder to press the seam, and I'm taping the inside panel to the card and setting that aside. And now I need to work on the outside. I'm taking my framelit and cutting out the center of the panel, being careful that I have a good representation of which pieces in the picture will display on the raised area. So I'm being really careful that I get part of the fairy on the flat part on the raised part, and the same thing with the dandelions. This design is a variation on a triple layer stamp, which I'm showing you a picture of, a design that I've done. Now I'm taking one more look at it to make sure that I have it lined up where I need it to be. And before I'm running to the big shot, I tilt it a little bit, because if you take your framelit in on an angle, you have better luck with the big shot, and it doesn't fight it as much during the process. And now I have my frame and my part. So now I just need to adhere the outer frame directly to the card front And I brought in some scrap paper so that I don't get adhesive all over everything. And I use my tape runner, and I just tape this straight down onto the black panel. Making sure that I have to make sure that I get it evenly spaced. And now I'm going to tape this down to the card base. Making sure that I have the right side up before I tape it down, because I've made that mistake many times. And now I'm taking the insert and I'm going to adhere the fun foam to it. The fun foam is adhesive on one side, so I just need to pull the release paper and just put it in place. And since it's in two pieces instead of one, I have to be sure that I get it lined up where I need it to be so that none is extended over the edge. I want to make sure that I have at least a 1/4 inch area around the fun foam once it's in place. And the second blue part is a little big, so I need to trim it. This is how you just use up your scraps. You don't have to use a full sheet just for this little bit. And the fact that it's in two pieces, it really won't show once it's in place. No one will look for that. And I needed a little piece for that side there. So now all you have to do is take your tape runner or your tape gun or whatever and put it on the back side of this. The tape gun works a lot better than the small tape runner I found for this fun foam. So that's why I brought in my big tape gun. Now it's just a matter of lining up the edges of the picture as best I can and press it down flat. And you get a little bit of the black peeking out. Now I'm taking the markers and filling out the lettering with the Stella markers. The red for the love, the yellow for the ampersand, and the green for the luck. And I fill in the inside of the card also. I do the green for the shamrock and this time the yellow for the luck. So I didn't have the two greens side by side. And this has the word happiness, and I filled that up with blue. I'm giving the card a little shade to give a chance for the marker ink to dry. I've taken my Spectrum Noir and I'm sparkling up the fairy wings to give it a little bit more interest. It doesn't show very well on the video, but it's really pretty in real life. And that's the finished card. I hope you'll try this card yourself. It goes together very easily. You can recreate it very quickly with whatever materials that you have. I hope that you will come back and watch more videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe. I put out new content pretty frequently. And I'm going to make another video showing how to make the actual triple layer stamp that I showed earlier. As always, thank you for watching and have a good day.